Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from Malicious Compliance. Story 1 is by Comprehensive Ice 406. Boss says to look pretty. This isn't my story but my friend's. My friend worked at a jewelry store and the attire was a business suit. She loves her job because she is surrounded every day by precious metals and stones. She's a nerd for Victorian fashion, or whatever esques there is regarding fashion, balls, princesses, and royalty of Europe. Anyways, the only thing she hates in that job was the manager, Susie. From the account of my friend, Susie has an attitude similar to the fairy godmother from Shrek. Very kind in front of customers, but would bare her teeth when they left. Her favorite pastime was to chat with a customer while criticizing the employees with remarks about their looks, appearance, or how what accessories they wore didn't match their complexion and such. And she seems to have a grudge for my friend, probably because she engages with customers with minor trivia like, "Did you know jade has a hidden meaning?" and such, and it made a lot of people return to the store. One day, Susie came in extremely pissed and started on my friend about how she looks. Mind that she dresses as plainly as possible, because she geeks out when it comes to anything fashion related to the 14th century, and that she has to look like what the customer wants her to look like. I imagine that a light bulb went off in her head and blood rushed to her face as she thought of things she could wear and whatnot. So for the entire week, which crosses Valentine's Day, she dressed up in gowns and dresses matched with accessories that made her look like a Barbie princess. The entire time, there were people coming to her about the dress, the accessories, and the theme, to which she explained with delight. Susie was steaming the entire time. She tried to get her fired, but the owner was present because of the upcoming holiday and was happy with the increase in sales then. I managed to sneak by and saw her in a white dress that screamed Frozen if it had an Eastern vibe to it, and Susie glaring from the back. I heard she left the week after without notice and someone else was promoted. My friend wasn't too bothered because the current manager had seniority and was pretty chill, so she's happy. Victorian-style dresses aren't cheap, and they are definitely something you can barely enter into the store while wearing. So if she came in full gowns and everything, that would actually draw people into the store. It would probably draw some children into the store as well, but the real boss doesn't care as long as sales are going up. This Susie woman sounds too particular for anyone to handle. If you're not perfect while you're working at a store, then that's a problem in her eyes. You can never actually be perfect, though. You can only pursue it. You can never become perfect. Down in the comments by Beard in the Dark. I recall a similar-ish story from ages back where a software company manager ordered his employees to stop wearing comfy jeans and t-shirts and wear suits or dresses instead. The manager regretted this when his employees promptly went full morning dress, formal top hats, tails, ballroom gowns, making him in his three-piece suit look shabby by comparison. His manager, on the other hand, found it absolutely hilarious, and although he canceled the suit requirement, he did suggest formal Fridays be initiated. I've heard people over the years say dress for the job that you want. And you definitely do get more respect if you're dressed up, but it's such a waste of time and money in the long run. Why do you have to wear a business suit for a software company? You're sitting behind computer screens programming. You might as well be comfortable. This next one's a very short one, but it's a good one. By Audi Duty. 10 words or less? Okay. Working as an auto tech in a woman-owned repair shop, I was once asked to explain the problem with a female customer's car to them. I am pretty good at explaining things without using jargon and usually had no problems doing this. But not with this customer. I started to explain what was going on, but she decided I was out to bamboozle her. She shoved her hand, palm out, within an inch of my face and stated loudly, "Stop!" I did so, and she said in a very arch tone, "I want you to tell me, in 10 words or less, what is wrong with my car." I shrugged and said, "It's broken. Repairs will cost $700, and walked away. She followed saying, "I guess I need more information than that." I replied, "That is what I was trying to provide before you so rudely interrupted me. Now, if you will excuse me, I have other work to do." Then I refused to respond to her in any way. When your car has more than 10 words of stuff broken with it, you better be willing to listen. And if you're somebody like this woman who is afraid she won't understand what's wrong with a car, bring somebody you know, family or friend, who can listen and understand and then relay it to you later. Do not tell a mechanic to explain in 10 words or less what's wrong with your car if it's way more than that. Down in the comments by Kate Pig 123 is a great quote. This reminds me of the saying, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Our next story today is by Funky Splash Monkey. That's a cute name. Demand that your money be moved? Don't let me tell you that this is a bad idea? Sure. Some of you might recall that financial crisis that happened a bit back, circa 2008-ish. At the time, I was working in a call center for retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. For any non-Americans, these are plans from your employer where you can contribute a portion of your salary, and usually they will also contribute something as well to save for retirement. This is probably the biggest way that Americans save for the end. As an account holder, you have control over how the money is invested, usually from a small selection of different mutual funds. Also, about the call center. I had some experience. I knew what I was talking about and was able to speak with confidence in my voice. Therefore, I was on the escalated line. This is reserved for the people who want to talk to the manager. I was not a manager, but I and others like me got these calls. In some rare cases, we eventually fixed a problem, but more often than not just told the customer the same thing they had heard from the first rep, only with that level of confidence. They then hung up as a happy customer. We also had the ability to review previous calls to the center. So, one day in April 2009, an irate client was transferred to me. He had just gotten his quarterly financial statement showing that he was invested in several different funds that were affected by the stock market. His complaint was that he had called a month earlier to request that his stock market-based investments be moved to something more stable and less risky. At the time, the news was all doom and gloom, leading people to make majorly ill-informed financial decisions. This didn't happen. As I reviewed the transaction history on his account, I confirmed that whoever he had spoken to previously had only redirected new contributions into stable funds, but had made no change to any existing balance. I told the gentleman that I could review the call and if our rep had made a mistake, adhere to his wishes. I then tried to say something else, but was quickly cut off. Yes, review the call. I want my money out of the market. I tried to say something like, okay, but sir, only to be cut off again. This was not a man with a small account balance. At the time, it was 500,000 plus, meaning at the beginning of the crisis, he probably had around $1 million in his account. I reviewed the call. And yes, our rep had made a mistake. I went through the process to retroactively conduct his requested transactions. The rep got a negative mark on his record for making a mistake, but the customer really got the short end. For those that don't know, the low point of the market was early March of that year. Many stocks and markets rebounded enormously and very quickly. What I wanted to tell the guy was something like, Fund A is up 28% since the day you made the call. Fund B is up 32%, and so on. But as he didn't give me a chance to tell him to think about his request, well, that's why I'm posting here. As my company had to backdate his transactions, he instantly lost about $150,000 in his account and missed out on the boom. Of course, he called later to complain, but even after our mistake, we had done exactly as he had asked. I hope he is enjoying his retirement. Edit for my haters. Let me simplify the situation a bit. In March, dude sees that his balance is around $350,000, a big paper loss from a high of $900,000 or more exactly 18 months earlier. Wants to panic sell. Calls and instructs a rep to transfer to a stable fund 1 day removed from the market low. Rep mishandles transaction. A month later, his account is up to $500,000. Tells me to review his original request and make sure bad things happen to that rep. Doesn't allow me to explain why this may not be a good idea and ask him to reconsider. His original request granted, and account balance is now back to $350,000. Malicious compliance, okay, I'll do what you want, but you really won't like it. That's a big loss, though. How silly it is that we can have that much invested and lose so much, too. He only has $350,000 when he had probably close to $1 million to start. Gosh, I hate that retirement funds are such a gamble. It's like they literally turn it into a lottery. If you're investing in the stock market, it can all go away very quickly. It's so silly that that's pushed as a legitimate investment. The stock market crashes one day and you have a lot invested in it. Say goodbye to your money. Why should that even be able to be a thing? It's so awful. Our last story today is by Away Location. No overtime? No problem. Been working at this job for some years when I got a new manager. A month or two into her working there, she came into my office and told me I wasn't allowed to work overtime anymore, and if I have any issues, we can discuss it. The way she said it sounded like she was expecting this to really hurt me. I sent an email to confirm the conversation we had, and her response basically said, "Correct. No more time theft." I didn't really like that accusation. I usually stayed a little late by 30 minutes at most to finish up projects. A lot of projects come in last minute and other managers were thankful for my help. So I quit staying to finish projects and wouldn't start a new one if there wasn't enough time. No real issues, but some projects started falling through the cracks. I let the other managers know my manager told me no more overtime and I'm just following orders. Fast forward barely a month later. As I'm leaving for the day, she rushes to me asking if I can work on, you guessed it, a last-minute project. It's potentially worth millions. I explain how I've got plans and I'm not about to be a thief. Next day was too quiet. In the afternoon, I get a request to have a meeting with manager and HR. Usually you get a written complaint beforehand, so I'm still a little off guard. I could at least be a little prepared. At the meeting, my manager reads off grievances like it's an intervention. She frames it like I have antisocial behavioral issues, am insubordinate, and I don't go the extra mile. If you let her keep going, I wouldn't be surprised if I was somehow to blame for the company not reaching its goals. When she finally finished, she had to have started writing that the night before and into the next day. I asked if it's okay if I had my say. I pointed out a lot was just her opinion, and I'm overall well-liked. I always do exactly what she says. However, my manager likes to constantly move projects around while I'm working on them, and I'm not allowed overtime. She denies ever saying this, so I forward the email to HR. My manager then starts backtracking. She didn't mean it permanently. HR takes me off the call a bit. When they come back, it's just HR, and I start by saying I'm not signing anything. They tell me, let's agree to disagree. This has been one big communication, and they appreciate all the work I do. I asked to confirm if this was going to be held against me in any way, and they said no. They went on to say if I can stay late sometimes, great, but it's also okay if I leave after my 8 hours. My manager later quit in less than a year. It sounds like for some reason she had an issue with you. If she had respected you, you could have avoided all these issues. Some people just see somebody and they have a problem with them instantly. And it's unfortunate when it's a manager that does that. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a bright day.